Walmart. So these are slave-like conditions, and we want to expose this to our community and also demand justice. We want to shut down the Grand Isle Shipyard for their slave-like conditions, for the treatment of their workers. We also want to prosecute and make accountable the government agencies both in the Philippines and in the US for this grave injustice. When do we want it? Now! Ang tao! Ang bayan! Ngayon ay lumala!
I'm here today representing Committee for Human Rights in San Francisco. The San Francisco Committee for Human Rights in the Philippines is standing firm in their support for the 3 overseas Filipino workers killed in the Black Elk oil rig explosion on November 16, 2012, and welcomes the continual efforts of all those involved in the Justice for Grand Isle Shipyard Workers campaign. The tragedy of these workers goes beyond the Black Elk oil rig explosion last November. Not only was Black Elk culpable in atrocious safety violations in the oil rig, turning a blind eye to safety in the search for profit, but they, along with GIS and others, are also responsible for essentially setting up a modern-day slave plantation within U.S. waters in the Gulf of Mexico. Part of the conditions of Filipino workers working from 72 and up to 90 hours a week without proper pay or overtime, and working up to 4 months straight on the offshore oil platform, while American workers would only work up to 2 weeks offshore. The Filipino workers were also threatened with deportation when they raised concerns or issues, forced to stay inside company compounds while onshore and monitored with security cameras, and forced to do such tasks such as taking care of the horses or of one of the bosses. In addition, the Filipino workers' religious rights were also violated when they were not allowed to attend Catholic church services and were instead forced to go to an evangelical church of one of their bosses, who would even try to convert them away from their faith. Aside from not being able to leave the compound, except for Sunday when they were allowed only to go to an evangelical church or to Walmart, they were also not allowed to talk to their American coworkers or apply for state ID cards or a driver's license. One worker, according to GIS, was deported solely for the fact that he had complained about the condition of the work gloves that were given to him. SF CHIRP is demanding justice for the 3 Filipino oil rig workers killed in the Black Elk oil rig explosion, and stands by the over 100 workers and their families in their class action lawsuit and in their fight for justice against GIS. Companies such as GIS must be held accountable for their actions by the U.S. government and the Philippine Embassy and staff, and personnel must take a more active role in pressuring host country governments to investigate GIS and other companies which are exploiting Filipino citizens. SF CHIRP also vows to help in the effort. In the upcoming solidarity and fact-finding mission to Louisiana this February, and will continue to fight for justice for the GIS Filipino workers.
The people united
will never be defeated.
will never be defeated.
The people united.
My name is Mara, and I'm from the National Alliance for Filipino Concerns. I'm here today in solidarity of GIS workers, that no one should be treated the way they were treated, with unpaid wages, with the working and living conditions, that just like any workers here, that they should be treated with respect and dignity.
What are the conditions for Filipino workers in the United States, in the Bay Area?
Most of the Filipino workers are experiencing the same. There's a lot of similar cases that GIS workers are experiencing, like for example, back wages. They are not getting paid minimum wage. They are not getting paid on time. Most of them are also experiencing injuries at work. So it's very similar. That's why the Filipino workers, or the workers in the Bay Area in the U.S. should really come together and support each other.
So this is not an isolated incident, the situation of Filipino workers?
Yes, definitely. And the more we do this kind of actions and exposure, it's a very good opportunity for all the workers to come forward and for them to really fight for their rights, because they deserve it. I live in Santa Clara County, I live in Silicon Valley, and most of the workers were part of a Filipino Association of Workers and Immigrants in Santa Clara County, and those were the experiences of workers that are similar to the GIS workers. Yeah.
So these billionaires don't want to pay their own workers?
Yeah, definitely. Billionaires want, as much as possible, wanted to save more and more profit and more money.
morning. As we said, this kind of situation is really rooted in the labor export policy of the Philippine government. The Philippine government not being able to provide jobs for its people and forcing its people to move away, to move to another country to look for jobs to provide for their families. Now imagine your parents, or your grandfathers, your uncles, titos, titas, going to another country to provide for their family, but ending up in what? In these slave-like conditions. If you guys didn't know, Ambassador Ecclesia and the Philippine government knew about these conditions as early as 2010. The workers in Louisiana were asking for a dialogue with them, but the Philippine government ignored them. And in November last year, what happened? There was a Black Elk explosion where 3 Filipino people died. And that's only when the ambassador went to New Orleans to investigate what was happening. And when he got there, when he was asked what was happening, what did he say? He said, the Filipino workers are fine. He said they are fine, despite 3 people being killed. And he actually even said, we are looking forward to bringing more Filipinos to work for GIS. That's the kind of insensitivity that the government has for our people. They don't care if our people are being enslaved in other countries. They don't care if our people are away from their families. What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
We always say that 4,500 Filipinos leave the countries every day to search for jobs abroad. But there's another number that we need to remember. 9 Filipinos go home as dead bodies every day. Those are 9 Filipinos dead, and that's the only time their family can be with them, when they're dead. And in addition to the 4,500 Filipinos going abroad, let's not forget that these Filipinos are being exploited abroad to the point where some people are being killed because of employer abuse, because of exploitation, because of slavery. What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
My name is Nelly Gonzalez. I am the President of the Filipino Association Workers in San Jose. PAWI seeks justice to Filipino workers in Grand Isle Shipyard. We as Filipino workers, and I am migrant in Santa Clara County, stand in the solidarity with our fellow workers and kababayan in seeking for justice against the Grand Isle Shipyard. No one should suffer unsafe working conditions, get paid $5 hour for 10 to 14 hours days with no overtime, having deduction amounting to the 1,000 or 3,000 month for employer housing that consisted of 4 to 6 workers sharing a single 10 feet by 10 feet room, back house, lockdown, and 10 p.m. curfew, constant surveillance from security cameras, and limited communication with the outside world, discriminatory practices from their employer as a restriction or religious practices, and threat of termination and deportation. It failed to comply with their employer's strict rules. The GIS workers' experience of injustice is not different from the workers of Santa Clara County. Filipino that work as caregiver in the hotel, airport, and stores such as Walmart are not safe from similar type of abuse and exploitation, not getting paid the minimum wage and overtime, injuries from lifting beds all day, and physical abuses from patients that are mentally ill without compensation. No guarantee of permanent position from the job, with a lot of similar cases to the condition of the GIS workers. We stand in solidarity with them and the justice that migrant worker peace. We leave our family behind and enjoy these justices and sacrifice so we can provide the basic necessities
troubled waters, on the sea of uncertainty. I'm just trying to feed my family, breaking our backs. Why you taking things away from me? No, 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 no. Centuries past, are we really free? False promises, stolen identities, releasing these chains from my hands and feet. Oh, we gonna rise and they gonna fall. We got to fill the streets, question the wrongs through it all. Struggle, have no fear, keep fighting till justice is here, is here, is here. We gonna rise and they gonna fall. Got to fill the streets, question the wrongs through it all. Yeah, we gonna rise and they gonna fall. Yeah, we gotta keep on fighting through it all, 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 through it all. We got to keep on fighting through it all.
What are you doing today? Are you mad that GIS workers are being treated like slaves?
Yeah!
Well, we are too, and today we came into the consulate. Actually, Friday we submitted an email to Consul General who did not respond to our email about talking with him in regards to our issue with the GIS workers. Is that right? No! So today we came in and we gave them a letter. Actually, the Consul General's not here today, or he left already. So we gave a letter to Lyndon Cubas, who will submit our letter to the Consul General. Today isn't the only day we're going to be here in front of the Consul General to demand rights and welfare for workers like GIS. Today is just one of the starting steps that we're going to be here to tell them that they really need to protect the workers regardless of their status and regardless if they are from the Philippines or here in the U.S. So we got to make sure that we make noise and we continue demanding the rights for all workers. So what do we want?
Justice!
Well, today we're here to again make people aware of what happened with the Grand Isle Filipino workers in New Orleans and exploitations that's been going on with them. Yeah. And to expose what's been going on with all Filipinos internationally. Yeah, people here knew that, say that the Philippine government and even the United States government have known what's been going on here since the 2010. So, yeah, and they haven't done anything to do to fix it or even compensate what's been happening with these Filipino workers.
And it was said here that a lot of workers end up going back to the Philippines dead because of conditions in other countries around the world.
Yeah, so yeah, actually about nine bodies go back to the Philippines every day, dead from abuse of their workers. Well, recently, what we've been doing is making gathering a survey of workers, specifically with nurses and in-care workers or home care workers, and we've been seeing a bunch of exploitation and seeing a lot of what's going on in the back. You know, like most of the Filipino workers that work in home care are usually undocumented, so they would get the minimum wages or even less. Yeah, that's what we've been seeing.
So how do you survive? Very difficult to survive.
Filipinos, we survive. We strive to work. Like, we survive with family. I believe like the way we survive is family coming together, helping each other. I mean, like these exploitations with the workers, with nurses and home care workers, they're wrong, but we want them to stop. But yes, surviving is family mostly and the community.